Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today we are going to be talking about one of the most controversial recurring challenges on the show. Now, it's been a little bit longer than usual since my last video, and that was because I was fully in mourning because Dakota Schiffer went home. I was so depressed. Usually, even my favorites on a season of Drag Race, they go home and I'm like, oh, it's fine, I'll be back for All Stars. Or it's fine, it's just a TV show, whatever. This one hit me so hard. And then even, watching all of the queens break down at the start of the next episode because they loved her so much, this was just, one of the most heartbreaking eliminations of all time. And as we saw, it was because of the dreaded makeover challenge. So how this video is going to work is going to be kind of like my riggery of the girl groups challenge video, which you can watch up here in the top right corner if you missed that one. But I want to make a case for how I think they use the makeover challenge to kind of get the result that they want for going into the last couple of episodes. Then we're going to go through, we'll talk at least a little bit about each one, but we're going to focus on some of the most rigged makeover challenges of all time to kind of back up my claims. And then at the end, we will kind of wrap things up. So we're going to be talking about RuPaul-led seasons only because I think there is a difference between how the way RuPaul / production judges on the seasons with him there and then with other judges. We're just going to talk about RuPaul-led seasons, but we will get into it starting all the way from season 1. We'll talk about All Stars and all of that. But basically my thesis statement for this video is the makeover challenge is a nice placeholder episode where they can basically take out someone who they do not want to see get close to the top 4. So the makeover challenge is usually towards the end of the season. Most of the time it is at top 6, which, as we see, is very close to that final top 4, or in the older seasons, top 3. We do sometimes see it a little bit beforehand. We've seen it at top 8, top 7, whatever. But for the most part, it's top 6. And that is the perfect amount of time for producers to have with the girls that are left and to kind of look at, okay, who do we not want to see in that final 4? Whether it's someone who's doing well and they just don't see as someone they want as a finalist, whether that's someone who hasn't been doing well and is just kind of taking up space, so they need to just kind of get them out while they can. There's a lot of different factors that go into the makeover. It's the look, it's the makeup, it's the family resemblance, it's the performance on the main stage, it's the runway walk. All of these different factors come into play. It is really, I think it's just kind of seen as a runway challenge, but there are so many things that go into it that basically production, RuPaul, whatever you want to call them, can very easily just pick out one of these things to either highlight or critique that is somewhat going to be justified then for them to be in the bottom. But as we've seen throughout the years, the different things don't always weigh the same. Sometimes you can get away with having a bad makeup job if they like the outfits. Other times that would throw you in the bottom. It's never consistent across the board on how things weigh in this challenge. We've seen plenty of times where maybe it's not the best makeover in the world, could potentially be bottom 3 or bottom 2, but because of the dynamic between the queen on the show and the person they are making over, that can sometimes save you as well. So really, I think this is a good challenge for production to kind of do their thing, aka Riggory, because there are so many different facets. You can really focus on any single one of them and justify a placement across the board. So as we're going to see, I think there's a lot of inconsistencies when this challenge comes up. Sometimes queens are allowed to get away with something, sometimes it lands them in the bottom. And really, I do think it has to do with that end game and who they see making up the finalist spots. So we're going to kind of also go into, especially in the ones with a lot of riggery involved, the dynamic of the queens and how they've been competing and where they're at and how all of those storylines kind of converge into the moments of riggery. So let's talk about season 1's makeover, the original makeover, and what I would consider to be the first really rigged moment of the show. So obviously everyone knows Rebecca Glasscock wins this makeover wearing some very cheap looking wigs and some very cheap looking black dresses. Whereas you have Chanel, who has some very intricate looks for both herself and her makeover partner. So in this makeover, they are making over women who are very muscly because they do like sports or something. Like something like that, whatever. So here you have Rebecca Glasscock, who is very disliked by the queens, who hasn't really been doing super well in the competition, and who kind of seems like she's the next to go. Everyone else here has either gotten a win or has been consistently in the top like Chanel. And Rebecca's been either riding the middle or been in the bottom. So you would think that this would then be her episode to go home. Instead, she gets the win. Everybody is pissed and annoyed because they don't think she deserves it. And this also kind of pushes forward Chanel's narrative of her feeling like she's not getting her flowers, which of course then leads into this next episode where she, was asked by RuPaul, who do you think should go home? And she's like, I don't want to be here anymore because you all hate my guts. So in this case, they really focus the critiques on the dynamics a lot more than I think they do now. Chanel kind of seems in the critiques like she didn't win because she doesn't ever share the stage with her makeover partner. The partner comes out and does the runway, and then Chanel comes out and does the runway, but they never share the stage, whereas everyone else kind of, they might have let the model go first. They might have let their partner go first, but they share the stage at some point. And this is kind of seen as the justification for why Chanel loses, whereas Rebecca and her makeover partner come out on the stage together, walk the runway together. They really seem like a pair. And also, they're wearing basically the exact same look, which is where we kind of get into this family resemblance, which you're going to hear me say a billion times. They say it every single time they do this challenge. And to me, this is just a very, very loose and vague term that they can kind of use as a placeholder for we like you or we don't, and this is why. Like, think about Crystal Method and her makeover partner. One is Bert and one is Ernie. Like, there's really no family resemblance. One is orange, one is yellow. Sure, they have similar makeup, but it's like, there's not really a resemblance there because they're playing completely different characters. But then you look at, so many ones where it's like, oh, the resemblance here is uncanny. And I'm always like, where? Like, we'll get into some of those examples later. But whenever I hear the resemblance isn't there, I'm like, makes me get a little bit sussed out, because really you're making over someone who a lot of times looks absolutely nothing like you. And sure, you can put your makeup onto them, but is that really going to make you look like family? No, not really. So I think that's kind of a shitty critique that they say every single time, but we will get into it when we get there. Season 2 is kind of an interesting one for me because this is where I think we really start getting into the critiques not necessarily mattering, specifically with King Tyra, who has the exact same look. This is the only one of the looks on the stage that are completely identical. And then they just have a different color afro and basically the same exact makeup. But Tyra's makeup does not translate well onto her makeup partner because the partner is an older gentleman, and doing that kind of huge exaggerated makeup on them just kind of makes it look a little weird. We kind of saw the same thing with Pixie Polite and her makeover partner on UK4. It is not good. The makeup is not good. But because they have the exact same outfit on, they're told, well, you have family resemblance, you're safe. And, I don't disagree. If it's in a red circle, I would say I disagree. I don't necessarily disagree, but at the same time, you have Pandora Box, who is thrown into the bottom 2, despite there not really being a big motive for that, except saying that her makeover partner stole the show, which is kind of what people try and do now. I think Peppermint and Wintergreen was a huge moment where Peppermint stayed because of Wintergreen. So now everyone's like, you need to be the bigger personality, you need to wear the better look, you need to look amazing because you are the one being made over. I'm just here on the stage, to flaunt you around. But in this case, Pandora had good makeup, good look, had a lot of fun on the stage. There was no bad critique except your makeover partner outshines you, you're on the bottom. Despite King Tyra having a very clear hiccup with the makeup, she is still saved because of the resemblance, and Pandora is thrown into the bottom. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm kind of like, maybe Pandora should have been safe in the top instead, but it's just a little interesting little nugget. And at this point, Tyra was slaying the whole competition, was making the best TV, and Pandora was just kind of not skating by because she was doing a really good job. She just didn't have any challenge wins. And at this point, going into the final four, she was the one that was a little bit behind. So I really do think this might have just been time for Pandora Box to go home, if that makes sense. And then Tyra can continue on to the finale with a lot of winner potential. Let's look at season 3. I really don't have anything to talk about here. This one is, I think, very fair. But what we see in this and kind of from now on for a little bit is kind of this challenge that comes before the runway where they have to work together to do a cheer or a vogue. They do a striptease. They do all these little things that they have to do as a pair. And depending on, what they want to happen, kind of changes up how much that little challenge actually matters when it comes to critiques. Because there's so many times they mention the little, challenge, maybe once or twice. And then there's other times where they bring it up a lot. And this is one where they bring it up a lot. They have to do a cheerleading routine that is also kind of a PSA for safe sex. And a lot of them do great. Some of them don't do great. The two that don't do the best are Raja and Carmen, who are already going to be in the bottom because their makeovers are a little rough. But Manila is told that she did the best in that little cheerleading thing. And that's also kind of a justification for her winning. She's also told she has the best transformation, which is another really kind of key point in what makes you win the makeover. Because if you get stuck with the hardest person to make look like a beautiful drag queen, and if you can make them look like a beautiful drag queen, usually you get the win. And in this case, Manila had a very kind of super straight looking jock, and she made him look super feminine. And because he sold that he was a drag queen, he kind of exuded femininity throughout the thing. They said, you had the biggest transformation, you did the best in that little challenge, you win. So no riggery here. But season 4, we have a little bit of riggery, and this is kind of where I was getting into who they want to be in the top 4. So we have a different dynamic here. Kenya Michaels has just returned from being eliminated in episode 5 during Snatch Game. She's brought back for no reason whatsoever. And then they have to do the makeover. They are making over men into pregnant women. So that is part of this challenge. They have to be pregnant. Fifi O'Hara, Jeremy Carey, 1000% wins this challenge. Chad does a solid job. And then the other 3 all have issues. So let's talk about the winner of season 4. The makeup on her makeover partner was so bad. I don't get the storyline. And she obviously looks so much better than her makeover partner, which is another thing, another critique that they will bring up and use as justification for throwing someone to the bottom is if you make yourself look better than your makeover partner, you are going to be punished for that because you're supposed to be a duo and you both need to look good. So in this case, does not do that. Makeover partner looks atrocious. Kenya Michaels just has really ugly outfits and kind of a weird presentation with this very macabre, somber runway thing when they're supposed to be pregnant, so it was a little bit weird. And then Latrice is told that they have no family resemblance. And this is where I'm like, okay, sure. But because Kenya has the same wig on as her makeover partner, they have family resemblance because the winner has an eye patch with the other that's family resemblance. In this case, they both look like pageant queens. If you would have just put Latrice's makeover partner in a black wig like hers, would that have been a family resemblance? I guess so. But then later on, things like wig color can change and outfit color can change. And, that doesn't affect the family resemblance. To me, Latrice has a very pageant mug in the season, and she put that pageant mug on her sister here. And, maybe it's not exact, but I wouldn't say they don't look like family. And I definitely think they did a better job than the winner of the season. So I would say this is rigged. But if you're looking at who they want in the top 4, they probably don't want Kenya Michaels there. I mean, she just returned. And all of the other queens just have so much more storyline. So why not just throw the winner in the bottom 2 with Kenya? Well, we know that Kenya is an amazing lip syncer, and we also know that this is a ballad, and if anyone is going to be able to do a ballad, it is Latrice Royale. So I think this is a case of them having what they want the top 4 to be, and then the placements are just going to kind of make that happen. Season 5, we have this with Coco Montrese and Alaska. They are making over veterans, I think. Yeah, this is the birth of Nebraska Thunderfuck, and they're making over veterans. Jinx has the hardest job, and they kind of commend her for that because hers was older and a little heavier than Jinx is. So it's kind of, more difficult to make them look like family, but she made it work. But Roxy Andrews 1000% won this challenge. And basically these last couple of seasons, there's just been such obvious picks like Raven and Manila and Roxy and Fifi. And especially in this one, they have to do a stripped... No, this is the one where they do like a flag routine. They do a flag routine, and Roxy just has like a really nice routine, and it's the best one. And they're like, cool, you win. Now, when it comes to Alaska's flag routine and Detox's flag routine, not so much. They're a little bit clunky, especially Detox's. So despite Detox having an amazing look, the makeover looks are stunning. Maybe a little bit of styling issue, but nothing major. The makeover itself, I think, is phenomenal because she flubbed that, little flag routine challenge beforehand. That's full justification to put her into the bottom 2. Now, Coco Montrese does fine in the flag, like it's whatever. There are a little bit of makeup issues on her makeover partner, but for the most part, I think she made her look like Coco. I see the family resemblance. But Coco is thrown into the bottom, and Alaska is put at the low position. Now, Alaska had a bad routine with the flags, has, I think, really bad makeup on Nebraska here. It's really, really crunchy. And then the padding is so bad on Nebraska. It is, I think, the worst padding we have ever seen on this show. It is oatmeal. And she is not put in the bottom 2. Well, why is that? 1, we go into the final 4 with the rolaskatox versus Jinx storyline if, all of rolaskatox is around. And at the same time, if you were to put Alaska in the bottom with Detox is going to beat Alaska in a lip sync at that point. And I don't think they wanted to lose Alaska. I think she was really good TV. I think the fans really liked her, and I think they wanted her in the finale. Whereas Coco, her storyline was over. The whole time Coco has been here, it is because of Alyssa. You know what I mean? She and Alyssa were there to be each other's foils. And once Alyssa is gone in the episode prior, Coco really doesn't have anything to do. And it's not like she's been slaying the competition. So it's kind of like her time to kind of bow out. So Coco is thrown into the bottom instead of Alaska. And who else on this cast is going to beat Coco in a lip sync but Detox? So it all just kind of makes sense. Now, season 6, this one is kind of hard. I couldn't get into the critiques and everything because they removed this episode from Paramount Plus and for streaming. Not exactly sure why, but if you know, put in the comments below. This one, they have to make over brides. Well, actually, the grooms. They have to make over the grooms into brides, and then they're going to be like the mother of the bride. So the kicker here is that they also have to make the wedding dresses, I think. I couldn't rewatch the episode, but I remember Adora making a look or something. So I think they make the looks here. Bianca and Ben de la Creme are very obviously the best 2. Courtney does a really good job, but because she looks better than her makeover partner, they kind of bump her down to safe instead of putting her into the top with Ben. I think she should have just been in the top. But Courtney kind of had this storyline like, you're resting on Pretty, you think you're better than everyone. So it kind of made sense for them to give her the storyline here, but her makeover looked good enough that they couldn't justify putting her into the bottom 3. And then I agree with all the bottom 3 placements, but there is Riggory involved with Jocelyn's makeover, which is pretty well known by now. But as you can see, there's no black people in the top 6. Trinity K. Bonet was just eliminated. And they took out all of the makeup for a black complexion before this challenge. Well, then Jocelyn has a black makeover partner, and she's like, well, what am I supposed to do? And the production's kind of like, well, I don't know. You're on your own. Good luck. So the makeup on her makeover partner is atrocious. It is so bad, but it's really not her fault. I mean, she did what she could with what she had, but it's really bad. And on top of that, her makeover partner was basically forced to do this by his fiance or girlfriend, I don't remember which, because he cheated on her, and as a punishment he had to sign up to do this show and be the makeover. But he definitely did not want to be there. He definitely was not involved, did not care, did not want to do it. And of course that's going to affect the performance when he's barely trying on the runway. So poor Jocelyn Fox. I mean, I think that obviously they wanted her to go next anyway, because you have Adore, who is like the underdog. You have Bianca, who is killing the entire competition. And then you have Courtney and Ben and Darian, who are giving all of the drama. And at this point, Jocelyn just was there. I mean, she had a couple good weeks, but she'd been struggling in the competition. She had no storylines with other queens besides Courtney, which was the weakest of the storylines left. So I think it just kind of made sense thematically for Jocelyn to be the next to go. But they fucking pulled a Dreamgirls, throwing jewels on that runway to get her out, because they gave her the worst hand ever in this challenge. Season 7, this one is different because they are doing it with eliminated queens, and whichever pair wins, that eliminated queen comes back. Now, I'm pretty sure they brought these looks with them, but some of these conjoined looks just look better than others. They kind of give Violet and Kennedy the same critiques, which is, it's very predictable. It is really not doing much with the category, which is conjoined twins, not taking it into the kind of camp territory that you would expect, like we see with Gingers and with Trixie and Pearls and with Katya and Kasha's. So they kind of get the same critiques. I personally think Kennedy and Jasmine should have been bottom 3. Kennedy's wig is literally on the back of her head. These gowns are so basic. And instead, in that low position, we have Miss Fame and Candy Ho, who are critiqued because they've seen this concept before on the season. But if they brought these looks, it's not like they can, look into the fortune teller's ball, magic crystal ball, and see what other people are going to do. This is, I think, an amazing look from Miss Fame. And I think it would have been a great opportunity for her to have another place in the top towards the back half of the competition where she was really struggling. I mean, to be like conjoined twins that are sawing each other apart is like so iconic. I think this is so well done, and they just threw her into the bottom, I think, because they were kind of done with her, but not as done as they were with Jaden, who they were basically like, get the fuck out. So there's a little bit of favoritism going on in this challenge. Season 8, I mean, we don't really need to discuss it. This one is more of a design challenge than a makeover challenge, because they have to make 2 looks with the people from, I don't remember what the show was, Little Women of something. They have to do Wizard of Oz looks. So the only kind of thing I thought was a little bit unfair was Thorgy being safe. I thought she had one of the best looks of the night, could have been in the top, but at that point they were like, Thorgy, you're not winning the season, goodbye. Season 9, this one gets a lot of flack because people think Sasha Velour should have won. And we just talked about this in the Riggory of Season 9. I think Trinity did a good job too. Either of them could have won. And I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But I think the real Riggory here is with Peppermint and Alexis Michelle. So Peppermint is paired with Wintergreen, who is just such a personality, so funny, making everybody crack up. But when you actually look at the makeover, I don't see a family resemblance. The looks are just not good. I mean, Peppermint's is fine, but Wintergreen's look is like something you would see at like those horrible stores for like women over 40 that they're like, shop here, this is fashion for 40-year-olds. And it's like, no, sister, you can just go to JCPenney and find something way better. But because Peppermint's partner Wintergreen is so funny and so personable, they kind of save her from the bottom 3, potentially the bottom 2. Whereas Alexis Michelle really has no issues whatsoever with her looks, with her makeover. It's a high concept. I mean, it's not a high concept, but it's a concept. It's more than Peppermint had. The looks are clean. The makeup is good. The hair is good. The only critique is that the bodysuits are basic, which is Alexis Michelle's storyline on the season, is that she has the talent. She has everything except for the looks. She wears basic mall looks. She gets that critique constantly. And this is just kind of right before the end, kind of drilling that in. Like, Alexis, you're wearing bodysuits from Spirit Halloween. Like, go home, basically. And I do think they would have put her in the bottom 2 here if this wasn't an opportunity to finally get a Nina Bonina versus Shea Coulee lip sync, which is just a much better storyline. So definitely some Riggory in this one. Season 10, no Riggory. There's really no Riggory. Aquaria kind of gets the critique that she looks way better than her makeup partner. She could have been in the bottom instead of like Cameron, but Cameron I just don't think she took as many risks. It was just very basic. Monet falls privy to the curse of, if you finally give the judges what they've been asking for, you're going home right after. She finally wears a long wig, and they're like, we love that. So long. Season 11, which is another kind of contested one because of people thinking that Vanjie should have won over Brooke. I think it's pretty even. I think that the looks are both stunning. The makeover and the makeup and the wigs, everything is stunning. I think Brooke and Plastique just had a little bit of a better runway performance. There was more of a storyline on the runway, which might have given them the edge. But really, either of them could have won, and it would have been like, yeah, makes sense. They both did amazing. This could have been the potential Evie versus Silky lip sync that I'm sure producers were salivating for. But I also think they wanted that to happen in the finale, and of course Silky did not give that to them, so they put Nina West in the bottom 2, which was fully justified. Just saying, if they wanted to, they could have done the Evie versus Silky here, but I also think that's why they get rid of Nina instead of Silky here, because they're like, well, we still need our Silky versus Evie. We'll just have to wait for the finale for that one. Season 12. This one is... Let's talk about this. There's a couple things going on here. Heidi in closet, bottom 2. Makes sense. Justified and valid. The pie one in the top. Justified and valid. Now, the first kind of controversy is Crystal not winning instead of Jada. And I am someone who does think Crystal deserved to win this. I love the concept. I think it is so fun. It's so Crystal. I get why Jada won as well. She made the looks. The makeup is stunning. The hair is stunning. The family resemblance is there. And in both of the cases, there was a clear, good dynamic between the queen and her makeover partner. There was a clear concept. There was a clear performance on the runway. What would... And maybe I should have, made this rigged, with the red squares on them. But genuinely, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But the challenge in this one is that they had to lip sync for their lives. The makeover partner does a lip sync performance to You Wear It Well. If you're going to do it, it should matter. You know what I mean? Like, why are we wasting time on things that don't matter? And in this case, the 2 best lip syncers from that, I would say the only 2 that made any impact whatsoever, were Lil Snacky Cox and Opal Method. Opal Method did such a good job in that lip sync, and I think that could have been the thing to push them just a little bit over Jada into the winning position, but it doesn't happen here. And this Gigi Good and BB Bad look, they get the same critique as Jackie, which is, you look amazing, we see the resemblance, everything is good, but there are just better looks on this runway. And I agree in both of those cases, but again, I think Lil Snacky Cox did way better in the lip sync than BB Bad. So if we're going to do it, shouldn't it matter when it comes to the critiques and the placements? But as we know, Gigi had been saved from the bottom twice now at this point. Potentially. In the commercial, she could have been in the bottom. And in the Choices 2020, 1000% should have been in the bottom. So especially next to Heidi in Closet, they've seen Gigi Good lip sync in episode 1. They've seen Heidi in Closet lip sync. I think that they probably would have been saying goodbye to Gigi Good, which they did not want to do. Whereas Jackie Cox, they know she's a better lip syncer, which they just saw when she did the firework lip sync. And I think they were more willing to lose Jackie Cox over Gigi Good in that situation. So here is just what I think they were kind of planning ahead. They're like, we're not allowed to lose Gigi Good. Let's lose Jackie. And then it didn't even matter because they did a double Shantae, which wasn't deserved, but they did it anyway. Another very, very highly contested episode, which was the makeover of season 13, where they make over other queens in the competition and put them in each other's drag. And this one, I think I get why it was judged in teams, because you're working together in teams. But when there was such a clear, very clear bottom two of Olivia Lux and Tina Burner, why would you just not? You know what I mean? Like, even Rose gets her one low position in this episode. She was safe or above in every other episode but this one. And I don't think she deserved to be low here. I think she did a really good job on Tina. She should have been safe. Denali should have been low. And then you have Olivia and Tina Burner lip sync. Tina Burner goes home. I think Denali is someone like a Jan, where you know the audience is going to eat them up because they're just really fun personalities. They have really good drag. They're doing super well in the competition. But it's almost better to watch them fall and have everyone be in, like, a fury, so that then you can, one, get better ratings because more people are talking on Twitter, and two, you can bring them back for an All-Stars. Like, we all know Denali is going to come back on All-Stars and absolutely slay it. Would Denali have made it to the end of this season and win? I'm not so sure. I mean, there was some really good competition at the end of the season. I think Denali might have gotten lost towards the end. So I think that they just were ready to sacrifice Denali to make some good TV. And especially with the way that this episode was judged, which was incredibly frustrating. Anytime I see something as frustrating as this happen, I really do think it's for views and to cause a Twitter storm, to bring more attention to the show. And that's generally what I think was going on here. All-Stars 2, no Riggory. I think this is a sad episode because every single queen did good except Alaska. So seeing Alyssa and Roxy in the bottom with their amazing makeovers was sad. But Katya and Detox just kind of took it to that next level, especially in the voguing challenge that they had to do. Detox really, really ate that up and took kind of the attention from everyone else there. And then Katya's runway presentation was just hilarious and super fun. So everything makes sense here. All-Stars 4. This one is a little bit contentious. I'm a little bit more okay with it now than I was when it happened, because I don't know if you can tell what, and you know, the pictures are a little small, but Monet's makeover partner is not Frosty the Snowman. That is Patty. But I can see why you would get confused, because there is no contouring on Mr. Patty here. Like, white as a ghost. White as a ghost. And in, you know, other episodes where they would call out makeup, does not mention the makeup once in the critiques for Monet. Whereas Latrice is the only kind of miss here. I think everyone else did a good job. Manila, I think, did the least good job of the other four. And then I would say Monet would be, like, high, but there were some makeup issues. And this is one where they really take the critiques for the little challenge before the runway into consideration. And it's kind of like, okay, why? Because they're doing this Judy Garland dance number, and Monet does the best in that. Like, when does that ever determine the winner? You know what I mean? Like, let's go back to Manila on season 3. She had the best cheer, but she also had the best runway. So it's like, it's, you know, just further justification. It's not the only justification for winning. Whereas here, I think this was the only justification for winning, because Monet and Patty's looks are very stunning, but I think Monet wore the better one and put Patty in the less, you know, attention-grabbing look. Trinity and her partner, amazing looks. Mo and her partner, hilarious looks. But then they had the weakest Judy Garland thing, so I'm like, fine, to make a Trinity. But Monet, I just don't think deserved this top 2 placement. And they switched up how they critique to kind of make it fit. Now we have Drag Race Down Under. Electroshock should have been high. They said that she had makeup issues on her partner, and they kind of call out, like, makeup issues has been a thing for you this entire time. I don't see any makeup issues. I think they both look fine. But it's just kind of a way to not give Elektra her flowers, which was their favorite thing to do on this season. And by bringing in a critique that they've already given her, makes it seem justified. Drag Race Down Under 2, I didn't see any Riggory, and I didn't watch the season. So we can just kind of skip over that and move over to UK. UK 1, this one is one of the most infuriating, because this could have been Cheryl Hole's moment. This could have been it. And I would say that Cheryl kind of gets the same critiques that Dakota is given in UK 4. Cheryl does her brand, which is, a little more basic than someone like the Vivian or someone like Davina, who does these kind of big, over-the-top looks. Cheryl is fine to just go and get a cute little look and put it on and go shimmy out on that runway. That is Cheryl. That is Cheryl. And she does that. And the second I look at these looks, I say, that's a Cheryl Hole dance number look. And they are both stunning looks. The family resemblance is there. The makeup is stunning. The hair is stunning. They had fun on the runway. Everything in this pointed to Cheryl Hole winning. But at this point, Cheryl Hole was not going to be in that finale. You know what I mean? Like, Davina had 2 wins at this point. Vivian had 3 wins. Baga had 3 wins. They were going to be the final 3. And the fact that Cheryl did deserve to win this challenge really doesn't matter when you're this close to the end, because this is the last episode before the finale. So you have to cut Cheryl. What is the justification going to be? The bodysuit. Michelle's like, I don't like the bodysuit. I've never liked bodysuits. You're going home because of a bodysuit. And at that point, it's like, kind of like Dakota's. It's like, okay, well, the makeover challenge is also a branding challenge. So if my thing is bodysuits, dance number, bodysuits, that's my brand. You're telling me you want me to do my brand, but you want it to be something you like. Like, there's a conflict of interest here, Michelle. And really, it just comes down to Cheryl needed to go home. Because Davina, in these dresses, I don't think. I mean, the guest judge on this episode literally says, like, those dresses are ugly. And, like, no one else says anything. They're like, she has to win. So, I mean, they have the best storyline. It's her pregnant sister. She put on a pregnant belly, and they had a lot of fun on the runway. That is all fine and dandy, but the dresses you're wearing, Davina, are some of the most ugly dresses I think I've ever seen on this show. So, does that magically make you safe? I don't think so. I really think this should have been Davina and Baga in the bottom 2, and then just make it a double save and make it a top 4 finale. I mean, really, they always do top 4 finales now. And that leads us to our final one we're going to discuss, which is also the most recent, the one that shattered my soul. Dakota Schiffer going home in some of the most gorgeous looks she has ever worn on this runway. And the justification by Michelle is, we've seen a silhouette on you. Okay, cool. Well, this is a branding challenge, and if this is my silhouette that I tend to go for, I'm going to wear it on a branding challenge. and Dakota kind of calls this out in Untucked even. And it's not like she gave her runway partner the same silhouette either. Like, there's a nice contrast in, Dakota having this very slim, kind of straight look, and then her makeover partner having this big, billowy look. And I don't know, I love the peach with the checker. I think this was one of the best of the week. I think it's top 3. And the fact that they put her into the bottom over someone like Jonbers, who had some really bad makeup issues. The concept just didn't come together. And this would have been the best justification for Jonbers going home because of her storyline, which the storyline is, Jonbers, you're a great drag queen, but what's your story? Like, where does your drag come from? What's the through line of your drag? This is kind of like what they've been talking about. You're a mime. Okay, why? You say you're a fashion queen. Where's the fashion? And if you're going to do mime, paint the faces white and go mime. Jombers has her regular makeup on, and she kind of half-assed her makeover partner's makeup. I mean, this is it. This is why. Dakota Schiffer was not in their endgame plans. Dakota Schiffer did a lot better than they expected her to. That is why she didn't get a top placement in Snatch Game, despite being the second best of the week, or what I would consider the first best of the week. That is why she goes home here, and they find some bullshit excuse to justify it, because she does not factor into who they want at the end. And this is the challenge that you can get rid of people for literally any reason across the board. You overused your silhouette on a branding challenge. Danny Beard wearing a short dress for the 17th time, we won't comment. But Dakota Schiffer wearing a My Fair Lady style dress for the second time, oh, mama, we are not having that. So she goes home, and it is so sad because it's not deserved. But at the same time, I get it, because if you don't see someone in your endgame plans, this is the challenge to do it, to knock them out, to get them out. And they do it time and time again, as we've seen, with these bullshit justifications, where sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not okay. Danny can wear the same silhouette, Dakota cannot. And it's because they want Danny at the end, and they don't want Dakota. So I hope with all of these examples, we've gone over the most frustrating makeover decisions, but also why they happened, why production made the decisions that they did. And I don't know, me personally, if I can understand why they did it, I can accept it a little bit more. So Dakota Schiffer, I'm heartbroken. I feel like I've lost a child, a pet, a parent, a sister. But at the same time, production, I see you. And I just hope you know that until I see Dakota with a crown on her head, an all-stars crown, preferably, we aren't friends. I will not be responding to your texts. I'll pretend like I didn't see them. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave things. So I'm just so pressed. Oh my gosh. I love Dakota Schiffer with all my heart. Team Danny Beard. That's where I'm at. Team Danny Beard. I was Team Baby. I was Team Dakota. I was Team LaPhil. I was Team Coppertop. And they said, no, you're not. So, Team Danny Beard. Hopefully that means you don't go home next, Danny. And I'm sorry if I brought that curse upon you. But until we see what happens next, I am going to leave it at that. Let me know in the comments below, what is your most infuriating makeover challenge moment? Is it Dakota, or is one from a couple years ago still just making your blood boil? Let me know in the comments below. And I've been getting the messages. I'm sorry. We will be getting to how season 9 should have went. Probably next. I think next. Let's go with next. Here are the links to all of my social medias, as well as all of my beautiful, beautiful patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really appreciate you, as always. And that's kind of all we have here today. Make sure you are signing up for the Patreon to get access to the Rigged Recap, my weekly podcast with Bootsy, where we break down every episode of UK4 and get ready for a fun special guest on the Canada versus the World edition of the Rigged Recap. Can't wait to get that started as well. Also, if you are not already, make sure you're following me on Instagram. We are doing a hernement to find out who is the number one queen of UK. So you can check my Instagram stories for that. And check out my Twitter, where I'm constantly just being a mess. And yeah. Also, if you haven't, make sure you check out the Chop Block. They are a new Twitter space run by specifically Black content creators discussing Drag Race and drag and other topics as well from a Black lens. So go check them out. All right, that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.